Okay, so this video is supposed to give direct value, so don't come at me hating on me, etc. Because I feel like these topics are very sensitive, but still. So, like, NoFap really exploded recently. Like, this whole idea of semen retention and preserving your energy and stuff like that. And it made me think, like, okay, what is it for a woman? What's the equivalence of NoFap for women? Because intuitively I thought, like, to myself, just like my inner thoughts, that it cannot be the same, right? It's not, because we're not the same. Like, a woman and a man is not the same. Like, we operate on so much, like, such different instincts, and I find it interesting. So I really took time to research and stuff like that and think about it. I think thinking about it is the most important part, because what I found out to be true for me is when I really think about something, I sort of find the answer in here before I find it on the internet. But nevertheless, I'm gonna bring to you answers that are backed somehow, and not by modern science, because modern science doesn't really, it sort of rejects this idea of energy preservation, which is interesting to me, and I don't understand why. I mean, I do, but if I'm correct that that's the why, then it's sad. Okay, so NoFap for women, right? How does it work? Thing is, it's very important to understand at first that what excites my mind as a man will not excite the mind of a woman in the same way. And the reason is to that is, as I said earlier, is instincts, right? We have very different instincts, and we react to different things. But because at the core, what are you doing when you are doing NoFap? The thing is, yes, you are not, I don't know if I can speak about this like here so openly, so I'm gonna use words to change, to like intertwine, to have a different words for the same thing, but you will understand. So when you're doing NoFap, what you are doing is you are stopping mental exhaustion. That's the deepest thing. Yes, like the release of the physical fluid, you prevent that as well. But what's the most important thing is you can get rid of this energy in ways that do not involve the fluid itself as a man. And that is like a concept that many people already figured out, is watching this stuff without releasing, right? You will still feel drained. You will still feel that you lost something in the process afterwards, after some time, when everything settles down. And that brings me to the fact that just because a woman doesn't release fluid in the same way that a man does, right? You understand what I mean? Doesn't mean that she is not losing energy, because I feel like there's this like weird like social thing of like a woman is perfect, she cannot do anything wrong. Like this is very weird, but the thing is, that's not true, because she's a human, right? So I think it's insanely important to like make people aware, and I think women are very vulnerable to that at the moment, because all this social media, what they pump in their faces is you are insanely good the way you are. And yes, to a certain extent you are, but you cannot keep telling like a person that's addicted to something that it's okay because they are perfect the way they are. Like, it needs to be balanced with like a gentle push towards improvement, right? So what I think is, and what I found as well, because I know many people will come at me and say, if people watch this, which I think many people will, is this is not backed by science. Brother, science is one thing, okay? It's good that you want proof, but you cannot rely on like external sources to prove to you something that you know is true, because then you're just so vulnerable to being manipulated. So that's where the concept of core comes in. Like, you have to have an inner sense of strength, right? You don't need really to prove like the outer things to prove it to you. Otherwise, once again, you become easily manipulated. So how does she, and I know this conversation have been going on for a bit now, but this is a build up. So how can a woman preserve her energy, right? Because the leak of the energy doesn't happen in the same way this does for a man. Because for a man it happens on a sexual base, but for a woman it's not really the same. Once again, instinct. And I know I'm speaking about it again, but here's how it works. For a man, okay, for both genders, the two main instincts is survival. This is number one. Like, keep yourself alive at all cost. This is the number one for both. But now already number two is different. It's not the same. For men, it's sex, right? It's sexual intercourse. But the thing is, it's not the same for a woman. Because for a man, it's the act of sexual intercourse is a final goal in itself. Like, you had sexual intercourse, you made it. Good for you. Like, this is it. You did what you have to do. You did your job, right? For a woman, sex is a means to an end, and that is to have a baby, to raise a baby. That's the number two instinct, is to have offspring and keep that offspring alive. That's number two. And that's why you have those shifts, or like those instincts play out. Sooner or later they do. You have and you can observe it so many times, like a woman that's 30 years old, and all of a sudden, it doesn't matter what man she is with. What matters is having the child, right? Like, this instinct happens and it needs to be fulfilled. Unless the woman is very aware of these things, then I think it's easier to control them. Okay, and so we have established the fact that she needs, the instinct is to have a child and to raise it, right? And that takes emotional power, mental power. You give you give birth to the child, and from there on, it's a mental exercise every single day to teach this child how to survive, to teach this child love and stuff like that. Make it feel mentally safe. So how will she lose sexual energy? Not sexual energy, energy in general. It's via mental stimulation, right? That's how she will get rid of it, of the energy. And I will bring to you the topic of Ayurveda. It's like ancient Indian medicine. But once again, don't let it get over your head just because it's ancient. And I think it's crazy that many people will rather trust medicine that's like, a couple 100 years old max, compared to like medicine from the Far East, just because it's old. Like, brother, what are we talking about? This stuff, okay, it's not documented on paper, but still, many people have benefited from it insanely, and you cannot just say, oh, because it's not on paper, then forget about it. But that's what many people do, and it's once again one of those things that is very crazy to me. So I use ChatGPT for this, and don't hate on me still. Once again, it will be this thing of like, oh, blah blah blah, you know, this ChatGPT thing. But just because it's ChatGPT doesn't mean it's not relevant, right? So the question asked was, what does Ayurveda say about how to tame stirred up sexual energy? I got my answer. There we go there. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. And then the question happened. How do women preserve ojas? And then my statement is, pornography isn't the same, does not have the same effect on her mind as on a man's mind. And you know, as AI, it obviously agrees, blah 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 blah. But then it brings actual proof, like backed. And the thing is, all of this I knew I could speak about this to you just from my own, and actually that's what I'm gonna do with help of this. So what it says is, the drain for a woman is watching violent, highly intense or emotionally disconnected media, which overstimulates her quote-unquote life force. Once again, take it on with a grain of salt, because, you know, Star Wars, you will start thinking about some woo stuff and like you will just let it go over your head, but please don't. And this creates subtle anxiety, which dries up the juicy, life-giving quality of ojas. And ojas is another concept, but at the end of the day, what ojas means is life force, like will to do good things. Okay. And how the preservation happens is, this means curating a peaceful and physical environment, meaning low lighting, soothing sounds, and media that evokes beauty or emotional depth rather than shock value. Go on social media. Everything there is shock value. It's meant to just surprise you so that you are hooked. And you can see it so easily outside. Who's the gender most likely on social media, right? I mean, if you are at the age where you're surrounded by women very extensively, like maybe you're in school, you're this, I don't know, you have many female coworkers, women coworkers, you'll see that as soon as there is a moment of opportunity, boom, hand goes into the pocket, takes up the phone, scrolling. And most conversations are about Love Island, like these very drama based reality shows, right? And the reason to why it's so stimulating for her but not for you as a man is her whole. So what pornography exploits is the natural drive, right? You have, as a man, you have natural drive towards sexuality. That what exploits. As a woman, you have a natural drive towards emotional stability. You want to feel emotionally stable. And that triggers this this feeling of, oh, I want to have children with this man. And what does it is emotional stability. You feel stable around that person, and that triggers this instinct to procreate, because now it's safe. Like the child will survive. Okay? And that's why you can see let's say you are a man and a woman, and you decide together that this relationship is just about sexual intercourse, not about feelings, and whatever happens, we do not become, you know, in love. We do not end up as a couple. Most of the times it will not work. Because at some point, if you are a stable man, you will trigger this feeling inside her head. And even though she, at this very point, she feels like, okay, this is true, like, I do not want anything more than this. Once the instinct gets kicked in, gets turned on, there's no turning back. Like, that's what the instinct wants. And it's the same as being in a friend zone as a guy, right? We have to speak about both ends of the stick. You're a man, and many people will get triggered now, so please hang on. You are a friend with a woman. You never had feelings towards her. Then all of just one day you randomly pops into your mind, man, I really like that I want to, take it there. Okay? And once that thought is in your mind, there's no really turning back. You can say, yeah, we can still be friends. Like, you say it to her and then she denies it. And let's say she offers, well, let's still be friends. You don't want to be friends. You know what you want. But you will take this and you will say, okay, let's be friends. And be like, oh, but in the back of your mind, there's like, okay, let's be friends, so that eventually, and yeah, okay. And why social media? So what I was speaking about is social media appealing to the instinct, and I get a bit off topic, but her instinct is to be, emotionally connected. And that's what social media and shows will exploit. Because with emotional connectiveness comes this ride, right? Sometimes it's like this, sometimes like that. And if you look at those shows, it's very unpredictable, like very drama based. Like, this happened there and this happened there. So, but how you as a woman can protect yourself is to take a step away from social media and from shows, because it is designed to keep you hooked. The only reason why we get hooked is because some things you get emotionally triggered. Entertainment. But with that entertainment comes the burning of life force. And life force, once again, very woo-woo turn, but hang with me, stay with me. And that's the only way in which you can. That's the major way in which a woman leaks her life force. And that's, once again, though, this cycle of emotional connectivity, very emotional, very intellectual. And it's very emotional and very intellectual because you need to, as a woman, you cannot really make a decision and then stick with it. You have to sort of think about consequences, because you don't know what's going to happen, right? And if anything happens, it will be hard for you to protect yourself on a physical level. So where your power comes in is here. You are very, thinking about stuff. If this happens, then this happens. And social media very much triggers that. It triggers that in you. It's this this instinct to think, to process, to have opinions about things, and this process drains your life force. And I hope it's clearly explained. I know it's very. The thing is, when speaking about stuff like this, you sort of have to not listen to the words as much as to how it feels inside you, because it's very easy to miss what's being said when you just pay attention to the words. And once again, it's this analytical mind in both men and women. Like, societally wise, we became very mental. Like, we need proof, we need this on paper, then this, like, a doctor in a white coat has to tell me this, otherwise I will not believe, you know. But pay more attention to how it feels inside you when you hear those words, because you will see, you will feel when it hits the right spot, okay? And I want to talk about the other topic, and which is okay, now you're drained, right? You scrolled so many things, you watched so many of those, you know, crazy shows, and insane, really. And now you're drained, right? What happens? The thing is, naturally, when you are drained, when you don't have something that you want, you will search for it in the outside world, right? And it's very common for men as well. This thing of let's say you are preserving your energy, right? But then you slip up, so here and there. What happens? You feel bad, right? And you want to escape this feeling of feeling bad. What do? You indulge again, and it's like a vicious circle. You indulge again in the hope of relieving the pain. You will leave the pain for 5-10 minutes, okay? And then you're back to the same thing. Once again, feeling bad, and the cycle repeats. Same for women. Something happens, she watches stuff, you watch stuff as a woman, you get drained. What's the instinct? Overindulge. Indulge in it again. You feel bad, you feel anxiety, you feel restless, you indulge again. But let's say you put your phone down because you have to, maybe you talk to your husband. How will the mind search for this dopamine hit of drama and this stuff? You see it so often, you see it everywhere. And fighting with the husband over like stuff that's trivial, the way he pronounced it's very stereotypical. But the thing is, it has become a stereotype because it's very common. Fighting with the husband over like the way he pronounced the word, the way he looked at something. And you wouldn't do that if you were okay. And the thing is, you have to realize, I'm not shooting at women now. I'm not aiming at a woman. What I'm aiming at is social media and shows. Because and the only way to save yourself from this is if you become aware of the negative effects. And I think this concludes the video. And I hope that if you're a woman, if you watch this, that you will you will at least try. Like, at least don't just shut this door of like what I said and be like, oh, this is stupid. Well, why would he? At least keep it like slightly open and see the difference. Because you see it. Like, there's like so many women nowadays are like just constantly on an edge. You do one thing and she just poof, oh, like it is weird, very very emotionally charged, right? Okay, peace.